So I think we're up to Mikol Makom. Right, the paragraph right before Mikol Makom, he says you have to say the right pasuk. Right? So I think we got to as far as Mikol Makom. We'll see.
Because I think he... Yeah, okay.
Because the last thing he said was, if you say, even if you don't have to say the right pasuk, but if you do say a pasuk, you have to say the right one. But then he says, "Mikol makom ani mesupek b'zeh." But maybe in this case, you don't have to say the right one. I'm not sure if we did this or not, but we'll go over it. Mikol makom ani mesupek b'zeh. Devadai b'pesach rishon im masrin bo mishum kol pesach sheni ein zu asra. He says that he sticks to what he said before. By pesach rishon, you certainly can't use the pasuk of pesach sheni. But he has a suffix of pesach sheni im masrin bo pasuk de lo sishbru bo, which is by pesach rishon. Efshir Mahani. Why should there be a difference? L'fi hamavur b'psachim daf pehayim an aleph, b'tzadik hayim an aleph, shah pasuk ve'etzim lo yishbru bo b'pesach sheni hu meyusir. It really is extra, because in other words, you would learn out pesach sheni from pesach rishon without a pasuk. D'chsiv k'chol chukas ha-pesach, right? So therefore, we would know it has a there. Mela mishtama. The Chayav al-Shvir says in Pesach Sheni, without a special pasuk by Pesach Sheni, would just and then for sure it would be just the pasuk by Pesach Rishon, and that pasuk we call Chukas Pesach will tell us that what the law of Pesach Rishon applies to Pesach Sheni. Afkram and Marbit was extra, and then Marbit says the pasuk, extra pasuk is Marbit Eized Davar. I guess the Gemara goes into different things what's possible as Marbit, Ayin Big Mar. In Cain, so you see from that Gemara, lo have exceed krazeh. So what would be Nasra? He says, "Valay hayamasrim bo misham krad the Pesach Rishon," because that was the only lama we would learn after Chala Pesach that applies to Pesach Sheni too. Mahani, and that would have been Nasra. That's the only pasuk you would have for Nasra. The like Ella High Krad. In Cain, after Chsiv Od Kram, the fortune Pesach Sheni, with the different words and such Sishru Yishbru, we come Makom, Iker Shenichta Bishpil Eizadav. But that's only an extra pasuk to tell you something that the Gemara is marba. Hu Gamkin B'chlal Lavarishon, but it doesn't negate the fact that it was it would have been allowed from the Lavarishon also. In Cain, Efshir the Mahani Hasra Mishon Lavarishon. So maybe even in Maskana you do have a second pasuk. But maybe it remains with the fact that Hasra from the Lavarishon still is good. Mishum Dosiv Od Kra, and the fact that there's another pasuk could be Logara. That doesn't make it any worse. So the pasuk of Pesach Rishon would be a good Hasra. That's one way of looking at it. And we call Malkim Efshir, or you could argue, Kivim the Maisa the Kasa Vakra Ata V'Davar Zeh Shenemer B'Ferish. Now that you have a specific pasuk of Pesach Sheni, could be Yatzim Mechwal Lavarishon Legamri. Even though you need the second pasuk for reading, maybe it's no longer part of the lav rishon. Hani hasra may allow the pesach rishon. That's his shiloh. That's our thing. That's interesting shiloh.
Yeah. And that's only if you use it for pesach sheni. But
he's saying, but to use the pasuk of pesach rishon for pesach rishon, that certainly can't help.
Yeah.
The pasuk of Pesach Rishon might help for Pesach Sheni.
Didn't we say last time that since the pasuk by Pesach Sheni is going to be marba certain things by Pesach Rishon, that it may also be applicable to Pesach Rishon? Because the second pasuk is only...
He didn't say that. I think you tried to say that.
Was it
I don't think the Mephibosheth said that.
No, I thought... Okay, I didn't think it was me. I thought there was something...
Maybe someone on the bottom. I don't know. But Sarach
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Maybe someone on the bottom. Yeah. Sarach the Nera Kivan the Moning HaMitzvahs Chashum L'Shnei Lavin Havi Kolach B'Fnei Atzmo B'Imkein Lo Mahani Hasra B'Pesach Sheni Rak Misham Mikra Kasav Bo. So his Mispavari says that once there is a second pasuk, you have to use a second pasuk. That's in the Moning Mitzvahs accountant and Mikol Makom Sarach Ian, but he says it's not a Kloraya, and you could have this Chakira. Okay, I don't think we did this.
No.
Okay. Usually, when you have two lavin, the Rama only counts one lav, and even I think the Ramban argues when you have two lavin, you count both. But if the second lav is only coming for a ribui, then he agrees you only count one. But here it's different because the second pasuk is coming for a ribui, but it's also coming for, it's by different cases by a Pesach Sheni. Here. Okay. Ve'im shnei anashim, that's rough, right? Im shnei anashim shavru etzim. So this thing I remember reading. Im shneim yecholim, o einam yecholim, o echad yachol, v'echad yena yachol, k'mo fararti le'el b'lav d'hotzoah, d'misham tamul l'kam, because by Shabbos have a whole sugya of shneim sh'asu. And he says, whatever we say over there, we apply it with no special rules by Pesach. Pesach v'chol av mishos shnei anashim. So it goes into the whole machlokas by hotzoah, shneim sh'asu, ayin le'el v'ein tzarech l'chol. So that I remember, so I don't remember the paragraph before, but this I remember we did. Okay, now Yud Gimel. V'asr gamkein lahatos l'ka'an lishbor etzem. I remember this. You can't trick a ka'an to break a bone. Kiv'chol ha'torah, the asr lahachila b'yadam davar iser. So it doesn't only mean getting them to eat, but to get them to do a dvar iser is called asr lahachila. Kvar kosavnu el. This iser of asr lahachila dvar Torah. Afilu im haka'an ein lo lecho rak hamoach shebatocha etzem. Im kein habele mitzvah chinuch to eat that moach. Ayin tosus psachim kasu devisham chinuch mutter lahachil davar iser b'yadayim. That's a tosus that said that even how could you have a cut and eat if he's not in the minui? And there's an iser to eat if you're not in the minui yet. It says in the Gemara that you give a cut to eat. So he says, once there's a mitzvah of chinuch, you don't have to worry about the iser of not being in the minui.
What's the chinuch here?
What?
Chinuch here.
To eat the Korban Pesach.
But the eating of the moch, but that moch would not normally be eaten because the only way you can get to it is through Shvirus Ha'etzem. So it's a strange type of chinuch.
Even though he doesn't have the iser, but he's saying you won't have the chinuch either. Okay, I hear. But he said, but Tosa says that you could, for chinuch, you could be over the iser of not minamino. You don't care about that. It's kasu over there. The Rishon, not everybody agrees with the Tosa, but he's saying according to Tosa, kasu Tosa, the Rishon chinuch mutter lahachil davar iser b'yadayim. Kvar kasavti dedavti b'chei gav nesham da avera he machmas ha katnus, because that's why he wasn't in the minui, because the minui of the time wasn't a good minui. He came mechanchin also sheyigdel yasa mitzvah v'voti avera. Avo ba'avera sheina katnus korim, and can lumbly lechanich kidei sheyargo begaluso. That's sort of like your time. Adamas begaluso asvelaso slish per etzem b'shko achilas pesach. So that's what your time was, right?
He's defining a little bit like he's defining it by the idea that Shvirus Ha'etzem is that there's an inyan of the katnus is.
It's not a bear because he's a khan, but the mitzvah of chinuch is to do something which you're going to do as a gadol, and here he won't be able to do it as a gadol.
Right. That's more like, but he.
And came the car and gam the car. Well, shay chinuch could be just no chinuch. I am the mitzvah Zion. Kasafti zeh, which I don't remember, but who bore be'ezes Hashem's bracha, that's a svara in chinuch. You're saying that even though there's a mitzvah to eat malach,
but this would not. I'm saying not more about this, but this would not be eaten anyways. He's developing the idea that this whole process of Shvirus Ha'etzem leading to the moch wouldn't apply by gadol. So the whole.
And what did the Gemara say? The Gemara said by. You don't break a bone which has moch in it because the essay of eating the moch isn't docha. It's mavish Shvirus Ha'etzem. The Gemara said, why not? Why don't you say essay docha lo saseh? So the Gemara said because by kachim you don't say essay docha lo saseh. So for Nagmar you see there is an essay on the moch, just that you don't say essay docha lo saseh. So now he's asking by a cotton, so there is an essay of chinuch. Without his sword, there is an essay of eating the malach, and there that you don't have the losa, so l'chora, you should be able to do chinuch. So he's saying there's no chinuch, because but the gadol he wouldn't be able to
do this anyways.
To do this.
The chinuch is not defined by the actual mitzvah, it's defined by the teaching of what you're going to do.
And you're saying that since Lamaisa you wouldn't do this by Yeah, but your story is much better to hear if there is no mitzvah and the moch, but if there is a mitzvah and
but really, it really comes down to the definition of chinuch really being in terms of the educational value. I mean, he's
that's what he's saying. That's what
yeah.
he's saying. But what are you saying? You're saying that even without that understanding of chinuch, it's still.
I mean, what are you I mean, I'm basically, what are you teaching him? Because he wouldn't be able to do this anyways. I'm still looking at chinuch. I mean, what are you teaching him? Because this is not something you're going to teach him to do, right? Because he's not going to be able to do this anyways. I'm trying to think of a case in terms of chinuch. It's not something he's going to do.
What did we have a case? I don't remember if we talked about it. Did we have a case where if a guy comes and breaks the bone, then there's a mitzvah to eat that noah? By Gadol.
No, I don't remember that case. I mean, it's an interesting question. If a guy came by with a guy comes by, you're in Yerushalayim, comes by and breaks it. So, would you then have a chiyuv to eat? Not only that, you have a chiyuv to eat them all.
Or you would have a chiyuv to eat it, no?
Right, because.
I'm just trying to think. So, if you have a case of eating the moach in the bone where there's no isser of breaking the bone, just thinking of a case where it was a guy, so it's not so precious. There could be chinuch on such a thing. I mean, the chinuch is that you have to eat every part of the korban Pesach, as long as there's no.
So that really raises an interesting question, because what he's saying is, really makes sense chronatosis, since there's no isser on the cotton breaking that bone, then there may even be an inyan to have the cotton. I mean.
That's what I was trying to say. That maybe there was even to argue with them in the plant, there could be there's an ending of chinuch. I'm trying to remember the Gemara, because we had the Gemara said that even though you can't break the bone, but you could burn the bones. What did the Gemara say? Why don't you? Because if you were afraid you'll burn it, you'll burn it part of the bus or two.
You'll crack it. No,
oh, you'll crack it. The burning will crack it.
Will crack it.
But otherwise, you would have to. If not for that, there was a problem. You would be able to. You would have to burn the bone.
And then I think you'd have a chiyuv to try
to get to moch. So that's what we're just thinking. So there should be an inyan of chinuch, because this is a way of. As long as you could do it without doing an answer, you have to do it. Just that practically speaking. But we didn't discuss if there's like what the issue is to tell a goy to break it. If there is an issue at all, merely akavik.
It would be interesting because if there was no isser of a mir la'akom, then why wouldn't there be a chiyuv of a mir la'akom? That's the only way you can actually break it open.
Yeah, so with it, generally there is always an isser about mir la'akom. The question is the right side, that's their blood. It's not the question. No, that Gemara is B'chal's here, because when the Gemara asked the question, why don't you say Asido Cholosasa? And the Gemara answers because B'Mikdash you don't say Asido Cholosa, but B'chal was hard to understand what the kasha was, because the Cholosasa comes before the essay.
Right.
Cholosa is when you break the bone, and the essay is when you eat it, and you usually don't say Asido Cholosa. That's a whole sugya that if you have to be over the losas to be able to do the essay, even if it's not b'shas ma'isa, some people say then you do say asido losa. That's a whole big sugya. But the question is, the person who wouldn't have the losas. Did we say not only a goy, did we say that anyone who doesn't have the mitzvah of Achilas Pesach, in other words, one Jew can't break a bone of another Jew's Pesach, even though that's not his Pesach. But then we say that anyone who doesn't have the mitzvah of Achilas Pesach, Lamashal, if you hold an Isha doesn't have a Korban Pesach, right? Then we say that they wouldn't have allowed the but also it's only because we hold that they have the mitzvah. I was thinking of other people besides Goyim. You could find maybe Jews that aren't having Korban Pesach. He said it's not
because it's tied into the mitzvah of Achilas Pesach. I think he did say something before.
Yeah, we said it only has people. My thing is those tests, he says it's no against the plan. He says, who has been called a Chayavim in mitzvahs, Chutz Mecher Shota, the there is speaking of call a Chayavim in mitzvahs, but I thought we said that you have to be chayiv in.
I think I remember something like that because there's an issue. You mentioned the issue of the woman not being mechuyev.
Maybe we still miss the shower ourselves.
Remember the issue.
Okay, let's go back to your line. I looked the word fast, I can't find it. And that would be not communal much so. If you hold an Isha doesn't have the mitzvah for Pesach, if she is allowed to be sheltered, and that's you have to tell her to break it. If she doesn't have an Isha, why shouldn't you have to tell her to break it? Okay, we'll go back there?
Yeah. There's no reason not to. It's not the same thing as telling a cotton to break it, because eventually cotton will be more for you.
Yeah. Still, it's hard to hear. If you have the fear, there's just, you can tell a cotton there's no Isra on him too. If you hold it an Isra, like he said, it's also Achil Yadam, which some people hold that in 3 cases it's a derisa, but for other cases it's only the Rabbanan. It's sheer why should you tell a cotton to break the bone in the case of Noah. Okay, we'll go back to Mitzvah Yud Zayin, Shelo Yochal Oral Min HaPesach. Shelo Yochal Oral Min HaPesach, Shnemer, it's a parish of Pesach, V'chol Oral Lo Yochal Bo. Who's it talking about? Ha'oral Shameis U'achal Machmas Mila, Ve'ein Tzarech Lomer Mi Meshubad La'arl, so he's a mummer. This is really a whole big sugya, but I'm sure he's going to speak about it. But the point is like this: Rashi in Chumash says that we're talking about an Oral Shemesa Machmas Mila, and he seems to say because if it was talking about a mummer, it says in the Torah called Ben Nefer Lo Yochabo, and if the Dafka is amazed that he's not doing Arlos, he would be a mummer, so you wouldn't need the pasuk. Okay, that's what Rashi says, and Tosas argues with Rashi. He says it's not either this or that. He says let's say a person is an Arl not because he's a mummer, but he's scared. He's afraid to do it. So he's not considered a mummer. A mummer is the one he's like he doesn't want to keep that mitzvah or something like that. But still, if a guy is scared, you know, it's an operation, it's surgery, whatever it is, and so he's not considered a mummer. And I think it's Rabbi Tam says that that's the case of Arl in the Torah, and if he's an Arl Machmas Mesu Achim he's like an honest. And he's allowed to have a korban Pesach because he's an honest. What do you expect him to do? So that's in the Chokas Rashi Rabbeinu all the time. The question is how to learn Rashi. Rashi learns he's a mummer, and even Rashi is fair because even if you say that there's only 2 situations: the case of Machmila and the case of a mummer, but the Ben Nechor is, like most Rishonim, is referring to a mummer l'avodah zarah, or a mummer l'chalashas for Hesia, or a mummer l'chalatara kula. But a mummer l'davarachot is not considered a mummer, so why can't he be a mummer l'arlas? And he's a mummer l'davarachot, and a mummer l'davarachot is not a ben nechor. So what's Rashi's proof? So some people, I once worked on this, a long time ago, that some people say, Al-Karkach Rashi holds that according to Reb Meir, it seems that Reb Meir holds the Mumar L'Davarachot as a Mumar L'Chalatara Kula. So the whole Rashi in Chumash that says we're talking about an Aro Shemeis Machmas Mila is only a hechrach according to Reb Meir, because if it would be a Mumar, it would be considered a Ben Nefer, because Reb Meir holds a Mumar L'Davarachot as a Mumar L'Chalatara Kula. And that's a whole big shiloh. Now it's coming back to me. It's a whole shiloh because there's a Gemara that says, according to Meir, a chosh of the davarachot is a chosh of the chalatara kula. But it doesn't discuss specifically that a mumar of the davarachot is a mumar of the chalatara kula. You can't have chosh of the davarachot is chosh. We hold is only chosh to that thing and not another thing. Meir holds a chosh of the davarachot is a chosh of the chalatara kula, but it doesn't discuss over there what the din is of a mumar. And that it turned out, when I went to work that, it turned out it was on my focus achronim what Reb Meir holds, and this hope shot in Rashi that Rashi was going that a mumar of the davarachot is a mumar of it's only if you hold like a Meir that there's such a thing as a mumar of the davarachot is a mumar of the davarachot. So it's Nageya was Nagaya Etosis in Chulin, because over there the Mishnah in Chulin says, if a person shucks on Shabbos, right, a person shucks on Shabbos, it says Shchitaso Kesherit.
Right.
So Tosus over there asks a question, and Rishonim asks a question. L'chover, he's a Machalo, Shchitas Mumer is not good.
Right.
And he's Machal Shabbos. He's shachting. So L'chover, why don't we say he's a Mumer,
right.
And a Mumer Shchita is no good with it. So Tosa says maybe we're not talking. I'm not sure. Some Rishonim say we're talking about he wasn't for Hesya. He was only so a Mumer. Right. So that's a whole issue of Basach. So, but some people say it wasn't for Hesya, and some people say that even according to Mumer L'Chal Shabbos, with one time you don't become a one time you don't become a Mumer.
Right.
And the Rambam says, like you're saying, the Rambam says he's not a Mumer till after the full Shabbos.
Right.
He's killing the animal or the shchita before the shchita is complete. He said until it's a kosher shchita, it's a makalkal. So it's makalkal on Osasakin. He's not really Mechal Shabbos until the actual tikkun comes. There's a whole big thing over there. But in that Tosus says that when he went to say, I'm not sure the difference between Farhesina and Batsina. He's not a Mukas with Batsina, but he seems to say that that's not good according to Meir, because Meir holds that a Mumur D'Arachah is a Mumur L'Chol Torah Kula.
Even Batsina.
Because Mumur Teddy D'Arachah, it's only by Shabbos where you find the difference between Farhesina and Rabbi holds. But anything, it's even Batsina. It also says the Gemara wants to learn, in one of the Ukimtas, the Gemara wants to learn the Mishnah like Meir, for other reasons. And Rameir holds the Mumur D'Arachah is the Mumur L'Chol Torah Kula, so it doesn't help making it Batsina. So you see from that Tosus that he holds according to Rameir, you are a Mumur. And other people say, where does Tosus get to say he's a Mumur? We never find it in Shas. Rameir holds it say, we only find in Shas that he's a Chashid, not that he's a Mumur. If he's a Chashid, you could say people saw that he did it properly, but if he's a Mumur, his Shita is no good. So that was a whole tumult over there. And some people bring rayas that there is a Gemara that's mashma that there is, it doesn't say Rameir, but there is a Gemara that's mashma that there is a mandamar that Mumur D'Arachah is a Mumur L'Chol Torah Kula. It must be it's Rameir. There's the whole thing here. So he's saying that Chol Aral Yochel Bo, it's an oral Shemaisu Machmila, which is like Rashi, but he says Ein Sarach Lalrim Shubid La'arlis. Well, that's true. If even a Mesach Machmila he's considered an oral, certainly he's Meshubid La'arlis. But the point is, Meshubid La'arlis, you don't need this pasuk. You could have some people hold like Rashi, so that would be a pasuk other than Ben Echer. But and if it's not the pasuk of Ben Echer, so who tells him it's Mesach Machmila? Maybe the pasuk is only by Meshubid La'arlis. I guess the Memphis Clinic is going to speak about it. Because I see there's pages in here, Memphis Clinic, and I don't see I can't find it. The Clinic can continue. Wow. Where does it continue? 1 second.
Well, it skips. To me, it skips 3 pages. So from study Gimel to study Zion.
And then what does it continue on saying?
Ubo
that the Earl can't eat the Korban Pesach, which is a whole thing hard to understand, that he is allowed to eat matzah more. So the question is, what's the finish? Why would I think that the Earl can't eat matzah and more? Why do you have a drudging for that?
He says lo yochel oral minu Pesach.
Right.
What about bringing this to Pesach? If he's not able to eat, then it can't be part of the meal.
Right. If you're not part of the achila, there's no Indian, so it doesn't have achilas Pesach.
Then you can't have the shritas.
You can't bring it. The lav is by the evening.
But I would think the real issue is to be he can't be part of this. I mean, it just seems that strange as in Matzah Mor, because that's an individual action. I mean, the idea of being involved in the Korban Pesach is much more communal. It's much more connected to communal action. I mean, when you get the issue of
but you have to be able to eat it. You have to be
able to eat it. That's what I'm saying. The Sushtel over here But he says it's wanted to eat matzah and maror.
Because it is Joshua Bo. The more darshan Yochel Bo, we darshan Bo in Ochel matzah maror. So it's
see, matzah and maror are
part of the Korban, eating of the Korban Pesach.
Matzah maror. He's talking about this is separate. Oh, because he's talking maror.
He's talking the matzah maror that you're supposed to eat with the Korban Pesach.
Not regular eating of matzah.
No.
So where do you eat this matzah and maror?
Where you eat it with the Korban Pesach. There's a special chiyuv.
I understand, but he's not like the Sitri. How does he eat this matzah and maror? I mean, the matzah and maror are eating with the Korban Pesach because you're part of a minoi and eating the Korban Pesach. You're part of a group eating the Korban Pesach. So
he meant that he's not. But if he would eat the matzah and maror of that group that's eating the Korban Pesach, he wouldn't be over the lot. So he eats the Korban Pesach, besides not being in the minui, because the minui doesn't count, he's over allowed,
right.
So, but if he would eat the matzah and maror of that minui, he wouldn't be over a lot, even though that's part of the mitzvah of Achilas Pesach. There's no lav on that. Yeah. Wow, I guess the next thing I was going to talk about, but how is the oral in the minui? Well, he wasn't in the in the minui. Still, if he eats, besides being over the avera of shalom nuyah, he's over the avera of.
So he's eating.
Oral.
He's eating of the matzah and maror that's being eaten with the Korban Pesach.
And the pasuk is telling you there's no isser on that matzah and maror. And there's a Tosas, why would I have a hamni? There should be an isser on that. Especially on the Pesach, it's kedushin, something.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
That was Tosas kasha. So I don't remember what Tosas answered, or Tosas doesn't give an answer.
Because it does seem strange. I mean, the fact is the matzah and maror of that thing is because it's besides the Korban Pesach. So a person comes and eats that matzah and maror, and it's defined as matzah and maror connected to Korban Pesach. So you would think that you'd be part of the sister. And it's an interesting definition to define it not just as matzah and maror.
So let's see, maybe the Minchas will speak about it.
Right. Okay.
V'chein, he says, it's also true by a tosha v'socher gamkin. I don't understand what this v'chein is, but maybe, again, the Minchas might say. I mean, tosha v'socher over there, the more it says, is talking about a person has a tosha v'socher, it's like an evidibri, nirtza, or not a nirtza, 6 years. So, what does that have to do with oral or yochel? Well, I don't know. What is he trying to say? The tosha, does he mean the tosha with sucker? I mean, there's special psukim for tosha and sucker by Korban Pesach. So we'll have to wait for them to see the Mishor shemitzvot moshe kasavnu b'tosha v'sucker. So what's? I guess maybe he meant the thing that there is a pasuk like that they can't be. It's nothing to do with oral. Just maybe he means this drush of a bow and an opal of opal matzah maror is true by tosha v'sucker or v'sucker also. Maybe that's what he meant to say. Dini a mitzvah could go on milas bana v'avadah imak and also lishko v'lechol pesach. If a person has children or avodim that are not gemau, they're ma'aka, but yeser patah is found in psachim. Well, right. So I don't understand. Let's say milas cherav avodah we say is ma'aka, but I don't think you're over this lot. It's not part of this mitzvah of oral or yochel. It's true that there's a special din to the din of a nurse person as an oral or yochel. Well, there's another din that if you have children or avodim that are not kamal, that's also ma'akav you. But I don't think that's if much if you have a child that you weren't mal, it's ma'akav you. I don't think you're over oral or yochel. You're over that pasuk of which says milas avodim is ma'akav. So I don't know why he puts that here. The Yeser Protect, you'll find in Psachim, the Nohegas Vizman HaBayas, when there is a part Pesach. The over Allah could go to Orosh Achon Kazayas in there, so you see that there is on the Chilus Kazayas, or Yochel, or Hina Chilus Achon Kazayas. They'll get Malchus for this mark of Kol Oro Yochel. Well, so obviously this is a big Minchas Chinuch. Okay, let's see the primary. Dinim Elu Ayim Psachim. v'Yevamis Perik Oro. Rambam Perik Tes Mikorban Pesach Halacha Ches B'Tes V'Eil Mitzvah Beis by the Mitzvah Mila L'Kam the Mitzvah Reish Pei Beis V'Sham Tilmud L'Kan V'Heim Nishnu Rishona. I mean, they were Nishnu Rishona. He learned them first. I mean, Mitzvah Beis I understand was first, but why would Mitzvah Reish Pei Beis be first? I don't know. Ach Echto B'Ksas B'Kitzer.
What's in Mitzvah Reish Pei Beis?
Probably oral by all korbanos, but I don't know. I don't have Reish on the face. I don't have the first section.
I'll have a list of the mitzvahs here. Reish Pei Beis. Shol Yachol Oral Truma.
Only Truma. Okay, that's where you learn that Okachi from Truma. Okay. I just don't know what he means by him Nishnu Rishona. Maybe he covered them first. I mean, I understand Beis was before. This was his time, but why would Reish Pei Beis be before this? Ach Echto Ksas Bekitzer. Looks like he didn't write such Kitzer. Mechudashim Bezos Shem and things which are Chidushi. Hinei Rabbi Mechaber Kasson Delav Sahu Gam Kain Be'oral Shemeis Ach Machos Mila. V'chein HaRambam Kan Halacha Ches. Perik Zion Richumas Halacha Yud Le'inyan Oral Atzmo. When he speaks about an oral can't eat truma, Sasam Bekasa, the oral Aser Lecho. And he says, stop, anyone is an oral, so nearer the Bechol Inyan. Anybody's an oral. After Mesu Achmach's Mila, so he wasn't allowed to do the Mila. And Bein Tzarech Lamun, there's no responsibility to do the Mila. It's still Ma'akev, the oral himself. And most people say, for the Gemara, it's Mukach, that that's true only by the oral himself. But Lachar, the din, let's say a person who's Gemalt and he has a child, that's an oral which is Ma'akev. But there, if he's an honest and he can't mount his child, then it's not Ma'akev. It's not so Pasha, but that's what most people say. It seems to be from Gemaras. Nira, so he says, since the Rambam says Stam that an oral can't eat Pesach and it can't eat Truma, and he doesn't define it, Nira the B'chol Inyan Afsha Mesu Ach Machmas Vila, Bein Tzarech Lamul. But what then? Kol Heicha Dika Sakana Lamul, so not specifically that case of Machmas. That's just an example of you didn't have to know, but anytime there's a Sakana, Mikal Makom, he's not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach. Over Bolav, Haim B'Pesach, Haim B'Truma. The he sheet is Rashi Yevamis Reish Perik All Daf Ayin Amal Aleph. V'Atos Sham Hiskimel Imo that Mesu Achos Mila is considered an oral as far as the law of Pesach and Truma. The Ayin Zvachim Dav Tesvav and Beis V'Chein Kasav. What does it say? Ayin Beis. Chaf Beis Ayin Beis. In other words, Zvachim Tesvav Beis and Chaf Beis Ayin Beis. V'Tos Sham Direi Maskil Oral. V'Chagiga Dalet of the Beis Direi Maskil V'Marba. V'Gam Marasha V'Chidush L'Yibam Sham Hiskim Lazeh. That this din that Rashi is right, that an oral, even if he's an honest, can't eat Korban Pesach and can't eat Truma.
That's Kabachon with every other case.
Aval Hatosis and Zvachim, the Chagiga now Mevim Das Rabbeinu Tam that argues. The Dafka Ihumis Yore Lamu. It's only a person who's afraid to do Mila because he wants to get around the problem. Otherwise, he'd be a mummer, right? He says he's not a mummer, he's scared, that's all. Even if he wants to, we will tell him you're not allowed to maul because it's dangerous. Or any other simple case where it's a danger, so the Rabbi Hochman says even though he's Lamaisa and Oral, he'd be able to eat the Pesach with Truma because Ein Lo Din Oral. An Oral is only someone who has a chiyuv to do the Milah. And these people who are B'Sukanim don't have a chiyuv, so they're not called an oral according to Rabbeinu Tam.
The same laws apply to Truma and Korban Pesach.
I think so.
Because Korban Nechar is only by Pesach, right?
Yeah, but the same din of oral is by both. The Sham Kasafti, so Sham Kasafti, so you see he did Reish Pei Bei first, because here he's writing what he wrote in Reish Pei Bays, right? So when he said Nish Dakota, it means he did them first.
So
right?
he wrote.
So he didn't.
He didn't write the order. He didn't write the.
Plaintiff isn't the way. No, we've had other cases. It wasn't the same
Right.
order. It says Bisham Kasafti the Afal Daf Rabbeinu Tam Davka Im Lo Yotzel L'Shar Ruyalamu. If he was always an honest and didn't have ever the opportunity to do Mila. He goes to Mesach Machos Mila. Oh, Chola Koden Yom Hashmini. He got sick before the Yom Hashmini. Abel Im Hoysa Shoah Sharoy Lamulo. But if there was a time that he was roy for Mila, and he didn't have Mila, and then he got sick, that he would have a din of it oral. Still, it's a big chiddush because, let's say he was roy at 8 days old, but he himself didn't have a chiyuv. It was a chiyuv on the father. So if he got well at 2 years old, right. So when it comes to the chiyuv of a korban Pesach, which is at 13,
right.
To say that he was roy at 8 days and therefore he's considered an oral, it's not so pashut because he wasn't an oral, but it was nogeya. I mean, it's nogeya the father, not nogeya him necessarily, right? Anyway, he said that's his chiddush. He says you have to see in Reish Pei Beis that once a person was roy, he has a din of an oral, even according to Rabbeinu Tam, even though now he's not roy.
Right.
The Vavhachi, because if you don't agree with me, him came Kol Kohen Oral Yochol Truma Balayla Ladas Rabbeinu Tam. Or else, when it's at night, why can't the Kohen eat Truma if he's an oral? Because at night he doesn't have a mitzvah amila. He Balayla Einos Man Lamul. The L'chalik Ben Shehu Ein Roy could go to Chola or Ben Shah's Man Grama could go in Balayla. He holds Ein Svar L'chalik. I don't understand that so well.
The difference between a guy who's 2 years old, no control, the coin. In other words, I could say that if you went through a period of time where you had the das to be mo,
right.
and you decided not to, then even if that's a different type of thing. Then now it's too late.
Right.
We hear that's found by other halachas.
But even without that, I mean, it's sushta, the case where you're not roy to do the mila.
Right.
In the case of at night.
Right.
By night, that it's.
You can't fix it now.
You can't do it
right.
Because it's not that you're not roy to do the mila. It's just that beside the mitzvah can't be done.
Right.
No.
It's 9:12.
Okay, let's finish the hearing. He says no chilik. Okay, you don't hear such a intro. But the frat lama nashve took in the b'choka b'sh Russian at a time. So this way it's not such a big focus. So near davka below higia od shoah sheroy lamu. Now yotz shoah roy lamu va'akha chola. Later at that time to Asher Pesach with Chuma came to Shiddushas Indian Milas Zachara Babada. There he agrees that it is a mark of promotion of Ur Lahalam as a Hashem is.